Okay, so welcome to today's segment of the Third Testament Foundation live stream events. Um, just to recap from the last three live streams, we looked a little bit about the on the main symbol, God source, and all the sons of God, all the living beings in the edge, each one being one of these with its x1, x2, and x3. Its eternal part, its creative ability, and its created uh, bodies and forms. So also the x1 being the formless and the x3 being the world of forms. Um, then we looked at the combination of the basic energies, and then we looked a little bit about the living being as a triune principle, x1, x2, x3. With at the center of the core of our being we have the stillness, and from the stillness we send out waves of energy that take different times to return to our source, our eternal I. And we see the karma waves, and we talked a little about the forgiveness of sins, how this love, the yellow flames, as they grow, we become more and more loving and compassionate, and the karma, the bad things we've done in the past, will be eliminated in future lives. So what is this love, this yellow flame stuff that we are evolving or cultivating in our consciousness? Uh, we looked a little bit about the principle of revenge and the principle of forgiveness. So today, asking, what is this love, this yellow flames, this all love, unconditional love? What is that love, and how does it come about? So in order to understand that, we need to um, look at the excuse me here, I need to click on this screen. We need to look at the pole principle, cosmic cycle of the pole principle. Every being has two poles situated in x2 in our creative ability, a male pole and a female pole. On this symbol we see that Martinez uses the green and yellow to symbolize the two poles. We see a male being and a female being in this, with this sets of poles. Each have a set of two poles, right? One male and one female. You see in the top set, the male pole, symbolized by the green band, is full, and whereas the yellow band is latent, more or less. There's a tapering that takes place across the evolutionary cycle here. So the yellow band represents the female pole, and the green band represents the male pole, and we can see how the yellow is tapering, signifying a latent female pole, which means there's a dominance of the male pole, which means that this being is a male being. We see this being is not always male. It was double pole before the tapering effect of the yellow female pole took place, and it will become double pole again. Likewise, we see this temporary effect called the one-poledness structure of the living being. We see the set below with the male and female pole. Again, the female on top, the yellow band, here now is full, but the green band representing the male in the male pole in the living being is tapered, just like before. So when the tapering effect culminates, we have a latency of the male pole, and then the tapering grows. The male pole grows back to being in balance with the female pole, and at that place, that balance between the male pole and the female pole, equal strength of the two poles, is all love or unconditional love. But here again we see what the one-poledness is culminating. That is a female being, a one-pole female being. So that is Martinez's definition of unconditional love. We see, where does this take place? Where the tapering effect takes place, which means where are we one-pole beings, more or less? That takes place where the orange evolutionary step is, and that means in the animal kingdom. And in the transition, in the end of the animal kingdom, we grow out of the animal kingdom, right, and back into the yellow, which is which represents the true human kingdom. We see this symbol with the orange corresponding with the tapering effect of the two poles. The orange culminates where the opposite pole in the being is latent. So that means that the orange is representing the killing principle, or the principle of revenge, every man for himself, dog eat dog world, the killing principle in short. And that is culminating with the latency of the secondary pole in the living being. This is basically a animal structure, animal being, but as we go grow with the secondary pole, we grow into the capacity of loving, and that means that we become more and more humane. So we grow out of this animal-like tendencies and living in 100% in the external world, and become more and more having a life inside ourselves with the thoughts and feelings, and not so much caught up in the outside riffraff and whatever we can be distracted by in the external environment. So we can also see there's a combination of darkness. This pyramid here is with the horizontal lines, how it culminates with the combination of latency of the secondary pole structure in the living being. And as the secondary pole comes back to its normal equal strength expression through the other 5 kingdoms, like the real human kingdom, the kingdom of wisdom, the divine world, and the kingdom of bliss, and the animal kingdom. And then we have this no latency effect in the next spiral cycle's animal kingdom. So we can see how these pole structures of the living being alternate. Here now, in the yellow band, we see the female pole that was latent in the previous spiral cycle is not latent here, but the secondary pole is latent. So this is a switching of the sexes. So what that means is, if this being here is a male being in this spiral cycle here, orange, in the animal kingdom, it will become a female being in the next spiral cycle. Likewise, this being that is a male being because a female being because the male pole, its male pole, which is its secondary pole, is latent, will become a male being in the following spiral cycle. So this alternating of the sexes is a unique thing in the Testament, because Martinus spiritual science describes actually why we cannot change sex between reincarnations, because we have a pole structure, a male and a female pole, that is an organic or an organ in our consciousness that we cannot change easily. So these two pole structures, if we ask what is a male pole and what is a female pole, we can say that a female pole is your talent kernel towards receiving energy, and your male pole is your talent kernel for sending out energy. So as a female being, you might be, depending on evolution, you might be somewhere in this area, and you have your talent kernel for receiving energy is well developed and in good expression, whereas your talent kernel for sending out energy has place to grow back to its equal strength to your female pole, which is your primary pole as a female here. So when these two poles are in balance, you are all loving being. You are a Christ-like being, and you will actually initiate in your intuition body. And what is your intuition body? Your intuition body is your blue body. It's culminating in intuition energy. It is your ability to see the divine laws and principle and all the mature results and ideas that have come to completion. You can see, and that is actually all the experiences for all living beings everywhere that are stored in the divine world, with the blue signifying represented by the blue color. You are able to see these results, and that's what Martinus calls gold copies or golden copies. These are memories of ideas that are absolutely perfect. So if you have intuition, you can see this, and you can, like Martinus himself, when he experienced cosmic consciousness, he was able to see the solutions to all problems. Any problem he could conjure up, he was able to see the solution to. So we will all be able to see the solution to this when we have this balance between our two poles. So if anybody have any questions, you're welcome to chat in with questions, and I'll just keep talking until I see some questions. I can pose some questions on my own. For example, what is this blue thing represent? Well, it represents the balance between the green and the yellow, which is the balance between the intelligent and the feeling energy. and that gives rise to the blue, which means intuition. So when you have all love, you will activate your intuition body to come out of its latent state. And with your intuition body, you're able to see everything. You have all the answers within yourself. You don't have to read in books or ask anybody anything. You are the source of all the wisdom that you could possibly imagine. So that's, if people really knew what cosmic consciousness is, which is the activation of your intuition body and the ability to see all answers for yourself, people would do anything to achieve this, right? If you knew what it was. But people don't know what cosmic consciousness is. So there was another symbol, I think, that was related to this symbol. And that is this symbol. We can see again the this is called the animal and human thought climates. We can see again how the how the pole structures are out there on the right. See how we have the pole structure again here, yellow latent, green culminating, and on the left yellow culminating, green latent. So that's the same principle like we saw before with the two bands, two sets of the bands. So these represent the two poles, the male pole and the female pole again. Again, we see how the evolution out here is in the down below this line we have the animal kingdom, and here is the human kingdom. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 evolutionary stages of human development. And we see how in the first two stages is where the one-poled structure culminates on the first stage, and in the second one, as the secondary pole in the being gradually expands in its capacity. So that means the female being is its talent kernel for sending out energy increases, and the male being's capacity for receiving energy increases until they are in equal strength out here. Up here we see the equal strength, and where this is all a yellow band here, which is the real human kingdom, and we see the star representing cosmic consciousness. Again, cosmic consciousness is the activation of the intuition body, the ability for you to use your intuition to see all the answers that exist in the entire universe. You can see that for yourself, and that's what Martinez calls cosmic consciousness. If you look at this star, you see again that that star is the same star that are that is in this symbol here. This place in evolution is the same place in evolution. It is at the point at which the evolutionary point at which we experience cosmic consciousness. Martinez also calls it the big birth or the cosmic birth, and so it is a birth into the spiritual world where they consciously are able to experience things in the spiritual world because we have our intuition body activated. The planet here, planet Earth, is also in its way in the spiral cycle, going this way counterclockwise in evolution and reaching the star. It will take about between 500 years to 3,000 years, depending on where you are in evolution, to experience that. So, but to the planet it takes about 15 minutes. So the planet experiences this time, this Earth planet, 15 minutes. To us is about 2,000 years, because we are micro individuals on the planet. And what I was thinking about was these, if you go back to this one, and we see and try to explore a little further this alternating effect of the poles, how they alternately shift in their latency. So what does this mean? If we look at it in a little broader evolutionary perspective, for example, if we look at the planet and us in the spiral cycle, again, this is the spiral cycle with the 6 kingdoms, right? Red is the plant kingdom, orange animal kingdom, yellow is the real human kingdom, green is the where the intelligence energy culminates, which is called the kingdom of wisdom. We have the blue representing the where the intuition energy is culminating, and that is called the divine world. Then we have the light indigo color culminating, which is the kingdom of bliss, which is a very internal kingdom where you don't experience anything on the external. It's all your experiences are from your own memory. So this is where the memory energy culminates. So in this spiral cycle, like from before, we are micro individuals. We humans are micro individuals on the planet. We are human resolution here, a biological resolution of the human body is the D letter, represented by the D letter. So this is us, our physical body, our mesocosm, whatever we can experience here with our physical body, we are here. Our macrocosm is the planet. So we are micro individuals on the planet. And as well as we have organs inside ourselves, the C, and so forth. If we just look at the D and E for now, we see that we are here in the D, situated in the D spiral, right? On the planet though, but we're in the D, we're in our own D spiral, and planet is in its own E spiral. So when the planet experiences 15 minutes, we experience about 2,000 years, give or take, roughly. Could be 500, could be 3,000. But let's, for simplicity's sake, just say 2,000 years. So what happens when we have, what happens to our pole structure when we have gone through our spiral? Because if we follow the spiral around here, we see that we end up in the planetary spiral. So this is the principle of planets. It doesn't mean it's just planet Earth. It means that we have our next spiral. When we incarnate in the next spiral, we are actually gonna have as a body is gonna be a planetary body. just as organs that are incarnating in their next spiral cycle is going to be humans. So we have been organs in our previous spiral cycle, as well as the planet Earth has been a human in its previous spiral cycle, and so forth. So what happens to the pole structure? Yeah, well, we learned that the pole structure is alternating in each of the spiral cycles, right? Each of the 6 kingdoms, once we've gone through once, the other pole is latent. So if we were females, or if we are female in this spiral cycle, when in the next spiral cycles, when we have incarnating as a planet, when our body is a planetary body, we will be a male planetary body. And reversely, if we are males in this spiral cycle, we are males in through all the incarnations until we become double pole, and then we enter the real human kingdom, go through the spiritual realms, and then reincarnate into matter as a planetary body, but this time as a female planetary body. So that's how the alternating goes. And then it continues, like then you would be if you were a female in this life with a human body, you'll be a male planet, you'll be a female solar system, you'll be a male galaxy, and so forth, infinitely into the macrocosm. And likewise, infinitely into the microcosm. If you are a male being now, like with a human form, you would have been a female organ, you would have been a male cell, you would have been a female atom, you would be a male clusters of galaxy principle, because it actually repeats. These 7 principles actually repeat. So below the atoms, we have, again, the galaxy principle. So inside atoms, there are actually galaxies. So I don't know if you can see atoms as actually clusters of galaxies, because in the macrocosm it repeats as well, right? So that's a little bit about the pole structure, and just a little bit. I mean, Martinez writes a lot about it, and I urge you to read some of his books, collectively known as the Third Testament, and tune in and ask questions. And again, all the symbols are copyright of Martinez Institute, and hopefully I see you all soon on the live stream, and stay safe, and I'll see you soon.